Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
Southeast Radio.
Well, Lucky Beard will be promoting ethical design at next week's Dublin Tech Summit, and Adam Oberem from the company joins me now to discuss ethical design, along with other emerging trends in web design. But Adam, Lucky Beard's journey actually started in South Africa.
It did, yes, Carl. And I suppose the broader journey started a good few years back when we started a business called Aqua Online back in 2000. One of the first full-service digital agencies, in South Africa and probably Africa. And it's been an interesting journey since then, from the early days of digital and technology and digital marketing. I suppose we learned a lot along the way. We were fortunate enough to exit the business to WPP, a global media agency, in 2010. And I suppose we did the job on ourselves that we do for our clients in terms of trying to make ourselves contextual and relevant into the future and create an offering that might be exciting for brands and businesses that might want to work with us. So yes, it has been 20 years or so in the digital and technology space. So
talk to us about the initial years of Lucky Beard in South Africa and how you achieved growth in that particular market.
Yeah, so in 2014, 2015, we set the business up and we said to ourselves, there's potentially two key areas that we believe are going to be of value to big brands and startups and financial services businesses and way broader into the future. And we believe that there's two strategic areas of that. And the one is engaging with businesses at the most senior or exec level in terms of truly understanding who they are as a business, where they are today, how do they fit into their landscape locally and globally, and what journey do they potentially need to go on to future-proof themselves and to create something that is exciting to their customers into the future. And the second is true product design. So once we've created this roadmap and strategic direction that we think we need to go in, how do we create and design products and propositions that support that strategy? And yes, we certainly did have a network in the financial services and telco and healthcare space that helped us kickstart, the early days of Lucky Beard. And then, a business called Outsurance, which is South Africa's largest short-term insurer, was one of our first key clients that really put us, on the map in terms of the new business.
Now, Adam, you say that the tagline for your business is that you're built to help startups become brands and brands to become startups.
Yeah, exactly. So I suppose for us, that really is about a mindset. It's a mindset within the business ourselves and everybody that works within the business. And it's a mindset that we try and instill in the businesses and brands that we work with. So whether we're working with an 80-year-old incumbent bank with legacy systems, legacy technology, legacy thinking, or whether we're working with a true startup, it's about thinking about the customer of tomorrow and really designing our propositions of the future and designing our experiences and products to support that customer. And I think that the expectations of customers have changed significantly. And it's businesses out of category that are driving those expectations. So, whether we think of a Deliveroo or a Revolut or an Airbnb, that really is the expectation that's being driven. How do we now craft our offering and craft our businesses, in line with that expectation?
Now, so as you say, the approach that you take to a client is you look at the strategy piece of the business first to see where they want to get to, and then you bolt the design piece on thereafter to achieve that goal. So talk to me through the process that you bring your clients through to get there.
Yeah, great. So I think, for us, there's a couple of critical steps. And the first just is really around market intelligence and research. And that's all about, looking around us and listening. So looking at, who are the businesses in our space that we're competing with? Yes, large, but more importantly, probably a lot of the niche players, the digital-only players and the challenger brands that are entering into sectors like financial services or insurance or telco, whatever it might be, and truly understanding what does that landscape look like locally and globally. And then having a look at out-of-category players that might have very niche executions in terms of onboarding or self-service, or cross-sell or whatever it might be, in terms of the way that they're executing and where might we be able to learn from them in terms of that benchmark or that best practice. So that really is the starting point in terms of that market intelligence. Then looking inside the business, really putting a stake in the ground to say, where are we today? How are we set up for success? and how do we potentially need to rethink the way that our business is currently being operated, whether it be from an organizational structure point of view, a culture point of view, a technology, and underlying tech stack point of view. It's really about having a look internally. And then critically, it's about customer, and that's the listening part. That's about talking to customers, talking to prospective or competitor customers, to understand what is their perception or engagement with our current business and brand and products, and then super importantly, what are the needs and wants into the future? What do they need and want from a business within the area that we operate? So that really is the starting point. And that leads us into then, writing that strategy around a North Star, which is what we call it. So it's essentially that future state. Where do we want to be as a business in 3, 5, 8 years' time? And really it's about defining that future state and getting the business behind, and aligning to that North Star future state, and then, unpacking the roadmap to get there.
And Adam, what are the principles of great design in 2021?
So principles of great design, I think that, for us, apart from not the obvious, but with regards to user experience and clean and simple and concise and repetitive design, I think, we have a strong slant on ethical design. And I think that, it's something that's probably going to become a lot more popular over the coming years in terms of saying, how do we not only design products and experiences that ultimately achieve the goals for our customers in terms of Lucky Beard, but how do we truly design products that we feel comfortable with putting into the world? We have a silly little mantra at Lucky Beard in terms of design is as though your mom is watching and your kids might use it. And I think that's just a guiding principle and almost an overarching commandment in terms of saying, how do we execute in a way that we feel comfortable putting it out into the world?
And as we look to the future of web design, of course, the massive disruption to web design over the years was the introduction of mobile and mobile-first strategies that businesses deployed at the time. So what's next? What do you see as the next big disruptive technology that's going to impact how we use and how we design websites?
Yeah, look, I think it's about, we permanently talk about the ecosystem, and I think it's an ecosystem of multiple platforms, multiple products, multiple engagement points, and content, forming a big part of that. And I think that, as not a new piece of, technology or a platform, but I think voice is going to play a big part in that. And voice UX in terms of, the way that we purchase products, the way that we get served from a customer service point of view, the way that we, self-serve, I think voice is going to play a big part. But I think, data, as we all know, is such a topical point at the moment. And I think it's going to be, a case of how do I, part with the data that I'm comfortable with parting with, and therefore how do I, create, or how do I have experiences created that are tailored and custom towards me, and that I'm receiving the content, the experience, the product, the offer that is curated and that is right for me as an individual.
And of course, with the emergence and growth in technologies such as Amazon Alexa, there's no doubt that voice is coming, and it's coming fast. And what I'd like to find out, though, this morning from you in relation to the impact that voice is going to have on the website of businesses right across this county this morning. And secondly, how voice and the change to voice search is going to impact their rankings on Google as a result.
Yeah, I think on that first point, voice is going to have a really big impact in terms of, I suppose, the actual visual design and the experience of obviously web and mobile shifting, towards the device that's obviously, accepting the voice call. So I think it's going to be a case of, again, what we call omni-channel, and it's about, giving the customer choice in terms of, engaging, converting, serving, where I want to and when I want to. So I don't think, web and mobile is going to disappear. I think the way that it's executed absolutely is going to shift in terms of giving that choice, and allowing our customers to really, be able to engage on the platforms when and where they want to. And with regards to, the shift in terms of, how does that affect the way that we approach our digital strategy, I think it's going to be a case of planning for it, and executing when it makes sense for ourselves and when it makes sense, for our customers.
And of course, many businesses have seen the growth in the use of live chat on their own websites in recent years. And of course, people have become so comfortable with using video chat. And WhatsApp or with Facebook or even with Zoom and Microsoft Teams in the last 12 months during the pandemic. Are we going to see a transition away from live text-based chat on websites to voice-based and video-based chat on websites going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're already seeing it in a big way with a lot of our clients. So, we work with Investec Bank out of our London office. We work with Irish Life, out of the Dublin office. And we're already seeing a big shift in terms of, as you mentioned there, Carl, the adoption of digital and the nature in which, everybody is becoming very comfortable with engaging, it's shifting very much towards, the video and the live chat environment. And I think that it just brings into play that personal piece again, where it really, has the individual, has the personal touch, has the ability to engage in a totally different way compared to, whether it be chatbot or automated chat. So I think we're already seeing that shift in a big way. I think it's going to almost become a requirement and a given in the next couple of months and years, absolutely.
And if there's any business owners listening to this morning's show that are interested in redeveloping their current website and they're planning the content of it today, in terms of getting that mix between text and video content right on the site itself, what should they be aiming for?
So I think, when we look at the mix and type of content, we always just look at this, the content strategy in terms of what are the content pillars. What are we trying to achieve as a business, up front? Before we start thinking about what type of content do we design or execute on, what are the key pillars? Is it thought leadership? Is it innovation? Whatever it might be, what are the topics and what are the key pillars? Then based on those strategic pillars, what are the right channels to execute that content on? So yes, it might sit on a website, but it's also about disseminating that content into the areas where I might be engaging as an individual. So it's not only on the owned website, it's about pushing it, into social channels, into social platforms, into other media channels. And then having a look at the content type. So yes, from a podcast point of view, from a video point of view, from an editorial point of view, it's about where do I consume that type of content? When do I have the time to sit in front of my, laptop and watch a full-length, 20-minute video? Or is it snippet-based or is it podcast-based? And that's where it's really going to be determined. How do we produce or reproduce content types that has the same theme but is executed in the right way for different channels for consumption? Because ultimately, the only aim with regards to content is to get our customers to consume it and to actually consume it in a way that they can recall it and it has meaning. And the only way that we do, really digest and create that recall is consuming it at the right time. So it's about that mix of having the right content types, on the right channels.
And just on a related point, Adam, it was always said traditionally that content is king, but has that been trumped now by distribution?
I think it's going to be, again, a combination of the two. Content is king, but I think content is only in its infancy. I think that, content is shifting towards storytelling. And I think that, that's where a lot of the, the new brands in particular, the exciting and digital first brands that are emerging, it's all about that story and it's all about the narrative. So, brand has two massive components. It has the visual identity component and it has the narrative component. And I think that content is going to be shifting towards, this idea of content only being produced in certain areas, as opposed to a story that is told through content that is consumed in different times of the day on different channels, in different ways. So I think that narrative piece is going to be absolutely critical for building, brands and businesses into the future.
It's a very good point you make in relation to the power of storytelling. What brands do you most admire in relation to getting that right?
So I would say that Airbnb is probably, for us or for myself, one of the greatest case studies in terms of storytelling and in terms of, where they came from as a business and a brand. And we don't need to remind ourselves of, obviously, the success that Airbnb has had. But I think the way that they have built their brand, the way that they have been so concise and considered in the way that they put their brand out into the world, into every single geography and market, around the globe. And they've done it in a way that is so understandable, so simple, and resonates, with any market. So, Airbnb would certainly be on the top of my list.
Over the past 5 years, we've been hearing a lot about augmented and virtual reality and the impacts that those technologies will have on e-commerce and website design and everything else, but they've been very slow coming to date. What's your outlook over the next number of years, Adam, in relation to those particular technologies and the disruption and impact they could potentially have?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, they have been slow coming. I think it's a case of, getting the technology to a point where it is usable, where it's scalable, where it's practical. And I think that's one of the key sort of words within our business is practical. And I think that, if I had to call out one particular vertical that is going to be hugely disrupted or is going to benefit from augmented reality, is going to be the education space. So we work in the edtech space with one or two businesses in South Africa and in Ireland. We work with the Institute of Banking, and I think that augmented reality just presents such an incredible opportunity to make a difference. And again, to go back to that ethical design piece, as opposed to putting AR in place, for e-com or purchase purposes, putting it to use in education, where you're creating immersive experiences with regards to whether it be soft form content, or any content that obviously is going to be put into the world through education platforms, through universities, whatever it might be. I think that's going to be in a very exciting space for education.
And Adam, finally, it was recently announced that Lucky Beard is expanding its Irish operations with a €1.1 million investment. So on that basis, what are the future plans for the business?
Yeah, cool. So we've been fortunate enough to work with some exciting brands locally, which has allowed us to expand the business. So, working with, as mentioned, Irish Life 123, Macaulay Pharmacy Group, and Institute of Banking as four of the key clients. And really that investment is going to be, or a big part of it is going to be in hiring talent. And I think that, it's such an exciting time to be able to, look at individuals in terms of user experience design, user interface design, product design, strategy, and the consultancy arm of the business. So we really are, going on a big drive to find some really special people, that we can bring into the business. So yeah, I think that we have two little pillars that we always have a look at, and one is exceptional, and the other is the culture piece. In terms of we're quite stringent around the type of people that are in the business, in terms of being accountable, being passionate, being dedicated, rolling the sleeves up and really getting stuck into what we do, and at the same time being exceptional in the area that they deliver on. And there really is exceptional talent in the local market, and we're really looking forward to bolstering the team. So yeah, we're currently sitting on 18 people. We're looking at probably bringing at least another 10 in over the next couple of months, and hopefully to grow beyond. Really, the plan is to service as much of the European market as we can from the Dublin office.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Adam Oberem from Lucky Beard, and I'd like to thank Adam for sharing his insights with us this morning.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.